things change at the snap of a finger. So,
Yes.
Seeing that pace for that run was awesome, and just kind of getting to see, you're dealing with, it's not just band and crew, it's band and crew and dancers agents and, costume changes and stuff like that.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Road Dogs Podcast, coming to you from Daddy's Dogs here in Madison, Tennessee, our grateful sponsor. Today we are joined by a good tour manager friend of mine, Mr. Taylor Watson.
What's going on?
What's going on? Thank you for, I know how busy you are, and I appreciate you making the time to be here. So,
thanks for having me.
Man, we were talking a little bit before, but we're sponsored by Daddy's Dogs. This is just a couple people having a conversation over a hot dog, but we're going to start by trying our hot dog. But I want to know, what did you go with here?
I had to go with the classic. My wife is from Chicago, and so I learned very quickly that there is only one way to have a hot dog.
Okay.
No ketchup, obviously, but the Chicago dog is the way to go, and this one looks fantastic.
It does look fantastic. I'm actually going to have the same thing here. So, man, I say we dive in here.
Let's get in.
Try our Chicago dog.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Got to wipe it out of the mustache,
So I'm new to mustaching, and there should be like a manual they give you, like, hey, if you're gonna have a mustache, by the way, here's all the shit that you're gonna get in your mustache.
Yeah. From now until the moment that you shave your mustache, you will always have to double wipe.
All right, so I got to know, what do we think here?
This is 10 out of 10.
Dude,
I've never had Daddy's Dogs, which is insane considering I live here. But that's fantastic. The hot dog to condiments ratio, solid. Toasted bun, big plus.
Right? And here's what I love. I joke about it. It's not funny, but like, we're not talking like, this isn't Publix hot dog here.
Oh, no,
like,
not at all.
No, we're not going to, when I was in my 20s and didn't have any money, we'd go to Dollar General and you get the pink hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Like artificially colored hot dogs. We went to, Daddy spares no expense on his meat.
As he should.
No, this is good. Well, dude, I'm glad you're enjoying your Chicago dog. It's funny. We had Zito. I don't know if you know Zito is a tour manager or production manager, rather. He's from Chicago as well. He turned me on to Portillo's.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that's a game changer. Like,
The other day, Kate got a pack of Portillo's Italian beefs. Like, the CMA staff after Fest gave her as a thank you gift. And so Sunday, we made Portillo's Italian beefs, and that was like the greatest thing on this planet.
wait, was this like one of those Gold Belly things where you get the whole kit delivered to you?
Oh, yeah.
So these show up on my Instagram because Instagram knows I'm fat. I want to know, like, is this hard because I want to order on there, but I'm like, oh, it's not going to be as good.
I think so. We did have this conversation because her mom swears by Jewel. Anybody in the Midwest knows what Jewel Osco is. And her mom makes the absolute best Italian beefs. And we were like kind of skeptical. The same thing that you were just saying, like, is it going to be as good? But honestly, it slapped.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
okay.
we walked away from that meal going, okay, we would do this again.
Okay, you just sold me. Like, I'm going to do this then.
You have to.
I had no idea it was. I thought, oh, there's no way. But now that okay, great. Well, dude, I love that you love food as much as me, and this is going to strength our friendship.
It's the best. We are nothing without food.
We know we are truly nothing without food. So, man, we're going to talk all about your career and where you are now and your current artist and just life. But, man, I want to know how you got to town and how you got your start in this wacky world of touring.
The fun, who am I?
Yeah, who are you?
Well, I am Taylor Watson. I am here in Nashville by way of Dallas, Texas. This is where I grew up. I graduated high school, and I actually was accepted to the School of Music here at Belmont.
Oh.
So that was the plan. It was my spring break of my senior year. My grandparents called me out of the blue and said, hey, we're both sick. Like, would you mind coming and taking care of us? And at 18 years old, like, I had a great relationship with my grandparents, and so it was a no-brainer for me. And so I set aside what at the time was my dream to move here to Nashville and went and took care of them for 2 years.
Wow. And can I pause you? You were a musician? You were going to come and play music? What were you playing?
I was a drummer.
Okay.
In like North Texas, like I went up through Drumline, did the whole thing. All my band nerds out there, shout out to you. But yeah, like that was my passion, and I was like, I'm gonna chase that. And I think I learned a lot of life in those years in Mississippi. And like, you know, at 18 years old, you're taking care of people and, you know, trying to do school, trying to figure life out, not being under the roof. And so I think, in all honesty, like what I learned in those years, like kind of set the foundation of what my thought process was as I started to then make the move to Nashville. I moved here at the end of 2014, like just after Christmas. And I did, for a couple years, I did do the drumming thing, you know, went out trying to make it as a drummer. And I tell people, like, I kind of hit drumming in Nashville in the phase of where you had to start filming yourself quite a bit. And for me, as I'm sure we will see at the end of this episode, I'm quite awkward behind a camera. So, like, for me, I was just like that. I couldn't find the validation in that.
Can I pause next? I'm not a drummer. Why? What's with the filming? I'm not following.
I think you had to film yourself to like get yourself out there more and be like, it wasn't enough at that point to just play gigs.
Okay.
Or at least that's what the world was telling people.
Interesting.
And so everybody had GoPros and like they had different, you know, that's when people really started doing like, they'd film themselves playing and they'd do a live mix of their drum tones and whatnot live.
Interesting. Okay.
And then you obviously like nowadays, like that's common, you know, you see that all the time. But for me, I was just like, you know, and like I was a good drummer. Like I can hold my own by any stretch, but I also knew that like that's when the feelings started to creep in. I'm just like, okay, I want something more out of my career, and I think that I could give more to the industry. And so I was drumming for an artist named Logan Brill at the time. She was going into an album cycle, and at that point I was like, all right, I'm ready to see what's out there.
Yeah.
And I had heard about tour managing, and I was like, okay, well, what is this? So I asked her manager, and I was like, hey, like I want to try this out. Obviously you guys don't have work for me right now, like you got any leads? And he was like, give me a couple days and I'll see what I can find. And he called me 2 days later. It was like 6:30 in the morning, which was awesome. At that time in my life, I was not used to waking up that early. But
like that's pretty early even for me, and I get up early.
But yeah, he was like, hey, I've got an interview for you. It's for an artist group called Runaway June.
Oh yeah.
And so I went in. You're a young guy. Like I kind of went in with I don't know what I'm getting myself into, and like there's a bit of that where you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so Emily Marchbanks over at what was 377, she was who I interviewed with, and we kind of started talking. Like she was an Ole Miss fan. I went to Mississippi State while I was in Mississippi, so we kind of joked about that and him hauled back and forth. And like when we got down to brass tacks, I was like, well, from what you're telling me about your clients, like there were some things that they needed help streamlining, you know. And I think the line, if I recall this correctly, was like, well, I don't like bullshit in my own life, so I'm going to streamline the bullshit for y'all.
I like that.
And like I was young, like, you know, and she just kind of laughed. And, you know, from there, you know, she was like, hey, let's try it out.
Okay.
And I always tell people that was the greatest first step for me.
Okay.
I had 3 artists, and at the time, you know, 3 female artists, like figuring out like what does that look like to work with females in this industry.
Yep.
And I was the youngest by like 10 years in that entire camp. So I had to, you know, that put me on my toes, and I was like, hey, you really got to be on it if you expect anyone in this camp to listen to you. And that camp was so amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, those guys were the absolute best. And
I got to just dive into that a little bit here, because I had Jordan Powell on a few episodes ago, and he was talking about working with female artists in his time with Miranda and Jewel and Jennifer Nettles,
Yep.
and, you know, talking about, you know, getting, you know, some of the challenges that he had going into that. But you've got 3 principals in Runaway June, so this is all about personality management right here.
100%.
And maybe different agendas or different life goals or different marital situations or whatever it may be. That's 3 different situations you're having to be this common glue between. That's not easy.
Well, and like you're trying to find, ultimately we all have the common goal, which is to put on the best show, continue to grow the operation, continue to make sure everyone's taken care of. And you have, like you said, you have to be the glue between, everybody's different lives. Like, and make sure that at the end of the day, we're all getting to, ultimately getting to the stage, putting on the show, et cetera, and moving it forward, but they took me in with open arms, like they just accepted like where I was in my career, and they were like, hey, like we're going to grow and you're going to grow with us. And I was there for 2.5 years, I think. Okay. Yeah. And just like, I learned so much, we did international touring with them. We did domestic, we did direct support slots. The first show that I ever did with them was a direct support slot for Alan Jackson.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And so that was like one of those situations where I talked to some friends before, some mentors, and I was just like, okay, so what do I do? Because we didn't have any crew. Like, it was me.
Just you.
Yep.
Are you mixing as well or anything like that? Or?
Funny you should say that. The man that was just here, Robert Bull, taught me how to mix off a Bandon box.
Okay.
And he taught me how to put that together and how to load it in and everything. And I remember the best piece of advice that I got early on in my career was listen first. Your mind can be racing at 1,000 miles an hour, but your face needs to show calm.
Yeah.
And I've kind of taken that throughout my career. No matter what, like we face challenges of all different kinds. And as long as I look calm, it doesn't matter how fast my brain is moving, trying to solve problems or trying to think ahead or whatnot and pivot left and right. We're going to get it done no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So you had a lot of mentors in this phase of your career because you're with these Runaway June. It's a 3 trio. You're not coming in here with a ton of tour manager experience. Like,
none at all.
None at all. Like,
yeah.
So you're having to literally learn the gig and manage personalities and stuff. Who are some of your mentors during this phase?
There was really one. Luke Reynolds was my. I remember I bought him a 6-pack of beer, and he gave me my first production Pelican and like talked me through everything. He sat me down. He was still working with Casey at the time, and so like it was. I think it was me, him, and Chris Plank, who was guitar teching over there in the Casey land. Like they really dove in and just kind of gave me all of those tools of just like, hey, here are the things that you have to think about. Here are the things that you need on a daily basis and whatnot. That tour was also on a bus, we went directly into a bus. So I was like, okay, well, what does that look like? What are the rules? And at that time, that was fun because you were on the back end of when you could do paper logs.
Oh, huge transition in our industry.
Yeah, so that transitioned like a year into the Runaway June thing, which was a fun experience. When drivers couldn't drive whenever they wanted,
right?
And,
the double log books and things, and the little secrets and things we don't talk about. But
yeah, DOT, please ignore.
This episode sponsored by the Department of yes, but no.
But yeah, it was like they were the ones that were kind of like here's the roadmap, And at that point, like I was so grateful for that, and from there I just kind of took it and ran. Okay. And just kind of kept trying to compile on top of that, but also keep it simple. Like what is my must do every single day? Yeah. Make myself a checklist, work through my checklist. At that point, once you've gotten through with that, okay, now let's deal with the last minute, the pivots left, pivots right, and keep rolling it forward.
Yeah, I love that. So you spent you said 2-3 years with Runaway June?
Yep.
Okay. And where do we transition to next? What's our next step?
So at that time, I was looking, obviously natural next step. And I had put my name in the hat for Russell Dickerson.
Oh, yeah.
So I had heard through the grapevine that they were looking. And a friend of mine had put my name in the hat to Grace, and she called me and she said, "Hey, like, you want to talk about it?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." And very similar situation. I think I ended that first initial interview with them by saying, "Hey, like, I'm here to just, like, I don't like bullshit in my own life, and let's streamline the bullshit here."
Yeah.
And that was, I was there for 3.5, 4 years,
Okay.
almost. Something like that. Math. But that was just like the greatest humans in that camp.
Yeah, I've had a chance to meet Russell and work with some of his camp. It is a group of solid people, and I go back to Grace and John Dennis and stuff. We used to work with Billy Currington, who they had managed at one point. But a great team out there for sure.
Well, and at that point too, like he was getting into clubs. We started that on one bus and a trailer. That moved to 2 buses, 2 trailers, moved to 2 buses, a trailer and a semi. Like I really started to grow my legs underneath that. And I was very fortunate to work with John and Grace. Grace is like a sister,
Yeah,
like,
she's great.
And she's a redhead, ginger power. And so is John. So, it's like
the
we had
power trio there.
Yeah, dude, we had the team. And it was just like, we continued to support each other and build that and continued to build that. And like, you start to face the new step, I guess, or the next step of tour managing, which is like, you're not just doing flat guarantees, you're learning versus deals. And Sam Forbert over at CAA was the reporting agent on that. And I remember one day I was just like, "Okay, teach me this." And he like printed out all these deals and he slapped them down. He's like, "Look at them, like read them like it's simple math." And at the end of the day, settlement usually is just simple math.
Yep.
You get a couple weird equations in there, but I remember that felt like a new horizon that you cross into, like, okay, I'm not just picking up a check. It's like, okay, I got to settle out the tickets, and we got to settle out expenses and budgets, and, it's really start to own the position, I guess. Like, at the end of the day, like, what we're doing out there is we are running the operation from the touring side, or running the business. And so all of that is a piece of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You talked about the growth from 1 bus and trailer to 2 buses and trailer, then add to semi. Having been through that process a couple times in my career, I went through it with Keith Urban, I went through it with Miranda. It's a fascinating process. It can be a lot of stress too. It's true growing pains, and obviously sometimes there's hard conversations with business management about some of these leaps that you have to take, and they're necessary. But it also looking at through the artist lens. What a great transition in their career, and what a big moment for them to recognize that, all of a sudden these dreams of mine are becoming a reality, that the club and festival circuit, county fair circuit, are now going to be arenas or small arenas. Like, it's a really cool part of the process.
100%. And like, I think that's one thing, as the things grow, I am the largest proponent of, I've done this with Russ, and I've done it with Hardy, my current employer. Like, we had a conversation that was important to me before I got hired. I had to make sure that we were on the same page. I fully understood what their vision for their team was, and what they wanted their operation to run like, and they understand where I was going to come from on my end. And if it matched, great.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's worked in both situations.
Did you go right from Russell to Hardy?
Yeah. I did a couple. While I was still out with Russ, I did a couple things with Coin.
Okay, yeah.
Which was dope. That was the first time I'd ever kind of branched outside country, and those guys were.
It's Stephen Kirsch Chapman's 2 sons, right? Or am I getting that mixed up? No, I'm getting that mixed up.
It was. I got connected with them through Nate Futrell.
Okay.
And I met some of my favorite people. Joel Livesey.
Okay.
Was the PM out there, and we later worked on a Megan Trainor run together. She did a media run in 22 when she was coming back, and we did that together, and it was just so much fun. And it was cool because both of those moments, I think that year in 2022, was 180 something shows,
Good Lord.
which
man.
is a lot.
That's, yes.
But like some of the greatest memories, and I got to in the time that I had off from Russ, like I was able to go and do these other things and expand. He knew that I wanted to continue to learn. I think we
Yeah.
should all want to continue to learn, and getting those experiences. I think most tour managers know that have done both. Like Pop runs at a pretty quick pace.
Yes, very much so.
Things change at the snap of a finger. So,
Yes.
Seeing that pace for that run was awesome, and just kind of getting to see. I mean, you're dealing with, it's not just band and crew; it's band and crew and dancers agents, and costume changes and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So I want to talk a lot about Hardy, and because you've been on a journey with that too, and it's been really cool to watch. But talk to me about how important it is that the artists set the tone for the whole environment on that tour, and the vibe of the tour, and because I feel like, at least I don't know the Runaway June ladies. I've never had a chance to work with them, but I can speak to Russell, and what I know about Hardy is that both really great people, and I mean, does that trickle down when the artist is good vibes?
it all starts from the top.
It does.
I think we all know that. Like at the end of the day, they are the owner of their organization. How they want that ran, how they operate, is how inherently everyone underneath them is going to see how they want it to operate.
Yeah.
I think them having a very clear vision of what the expectation is and what their expectation is, not only of themselves, but for their team, and being able to dictate that outward, not only makes it clear for your management team,
Yeah.
but it makes it clear for everybody involved, and it gives you the groundwork of what you need to play within. How you need to operate, what the expectation is, and I think what's important is as things change and grow, that too can change. Mm-hmm. The bones will never change,
Right.
but okay, you're not dealing with just A and B party. All right, now you're dealing with A, B, C party.
Yes.
All right, some you deal with A, B, C, D, or however people end up doing it. What is the expectation?
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect of these people? How do we make this happen? And I think the biggest part of that is communication. If you do not have a one-to-one communication with your client, that's going to make life challenging.
Absolutely.
I think and that only comes from being open and honest. I remember, like, when Hardy and I, we didn't know each other. He's a Mississippi State fan. I went to Mississippi State, but we did not know that about each other until we talked. And so I talked with, my name got put in the hat. Track called me, had a great conversation with Tracker. Track was like, hey, let's get you and him on the phone. And we sat there for 90 minutes. First time ever talking to him. And we laid it out. He said, this is what I'm looking for. I said, this is what I'm looking for. And by the end of that 90 minutes, he goes, well, it sounds like we're on common ground here. Like, do you want to give it a shot? And I was like, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So.
What I love here is, and what I think I'm picking up is there's some honesty, and because
100%.
what I've seen in my career sometimes is a lot of yes people.
Yeah.
A yes person, and somebody that not afraid to, I don't want to say call out the artist, but if the artist is making making a bad choice or taking things in a direction that feels unsafe or unprofitable or whatever it may be, that you can have an honest conversation and not feel like you're going to lose your job for calling something what it is, right?
100%. And I told him that. Sorry, I'm chewing on ice. We agreed on that. I told him, I was like, I will always be 100% honest with you. Doesn't mean I'm always going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that like it's always going to be the greatest news that you hear of the day. But you're going to know where I stand on it. And I think that's a healthy way to be.
And he respects you for that.
100%.
He would have to. And that's what I would, if I was in his shoes, that's what I would expect too, is you want somebody that's going to tell you when shit could hit the fan.
Yeah.
And have that honest moment with you.
Yep.
So what year was this that you came to Hardy?
That would have been 23, top of 23.
So even then, going back to our conversation about artist growth, even 23 to now,
Oh, yeah.
Hardy's had exponential growth too. I mean, what are y'all up to now, bus and truck wise?
We are 5 buses and 8 trucks.
I mean, that is what I call in my book. That is a healthy A-level tour. I mean,
Yeah.
that's significant.
We're rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Were you able to? How much of the team came and placed TMs, PMs, front of house monitors versus people you had to bring into the fold?
We had
Obviously, you're the TM, so you didn't bring yourself in, but PM monitors, front of house.
me and Turbo was the PM at the time. Turbo then moved to front of house only. We brought a PM in maybe 2 months after me. Most of the core crew was there already,
Yeah.
which was awesome. So our road manager Beans was there. Office-wise, I mean, for that first year, it was just me, production manager Beans.
Okay.
We added security later in the year. I'm trying to think. Backline techs were all there. We added a new backline tech, drum tech playback. We added in 24. So yeah, and then we started getting the vendors later in that year when we started Mockingbird and the Crow.
Okay.
So, and we've been very fortunate. The majority of our crew chiefs, vendor-wise, have stayed the same.
That's a testament that they want to be out there.
100%.
That means that you have that means that they have a good enough environment they want to come back, which, unfortunately we can't, not every crew chief would tell you that there's tours they would want to come back to. You said something a second ago I want to dive into just because for some of our listeners that may not know the difference, but you talked about y'all have a road manager out there as well. Not every tour does this. Some tours do, some tours don't. Sometimes these titles, a tour director, tour manager, road manager, band, liaison, whatever it is, are interchangeable. But how do y'all divide duties on Hardy?
So Beans runs back of house hospitality, runners, catering, crew flights, crew travel now. I handle A and B party mainly because they travel together quite a bit.
Okay.
Overall 30,000 foot view of touring. And then now we have, the last 2 years, we've had a PA. So essentially she is doing dressing rooms and kind of helping make sure that we all respond to things when we need to. And it's been amazing. I think for the longest time I was like, it feels weird when you have to start asking for help. When it grows to a point where you're like, hey, can I do this? Yes, but I'm going, it's like killing me to do everything. Beans also handles ticketing, passes, stuff like that. So, and he is the freaking man.
I don't think I've had a chance to meet Beans, but it sounds like a key and crucial, important part of this whole organization. It's, it's funny. You said something a second ago that kind of triggered me a little bit. Just in the sense of something I've struggled with is asking for help. I'm 35 years in this year, man, and I've had a great career. But I've found sometimes that I either try to hold too much in and try to do too much on my own, and that's when I see my work start to suffer. So I think that's one of the best things we can do in our careers is to recognize when we need to ask for help and to be able to be bold and take that step and ask for help.
Well, and I think too, this kind of goes back to the beginning. I learned this from Mike Finn when I was out. Russell was a support act on TR, and it's almost flipping the scale because if you look at it, if you look at a pyramid of touring, I guess technically, there's the artist, there's the management on the road, and band crew, and it goes this way. And I said, flip that scale. I should be supporting my office to a point that they feel like they have 100% capability to do their job, which then inherently supports the crew to be able to support, to do their job, which then supports the band, which then supports the artist.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, I never want to be the person that says, oh, I'm not going to do that, or that's not my job.
Right.
I always want to make sure that my team feels absolutely capable or has absolutely everything they need from me, that they feel like they can go out there and kick ass.
Yeah.
And I think some of that, when you start to get to a point where you're like, I don't know, can I do all of this? Can can I be in two places at once? Short answer is no.
Yeah.
And I think also from a management's perspective, you have to trust your team wholeheartedly. You have to trust that when you aren't there, and you're off doing another part of your job, that the ship is going to still sail.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is like I have the best team, and they do that. And I always check in with them like, hey, am I doing right by you? Am I making your life easier? Is there anything I can do better? I think that's important. It should never be, well, you go do this, or you go do that, or you go do, like, if I am not asking and investing and pouring into my team, how can I expect them to then pour into the crew as a whole, into the band as a whole?
That's key, man. What you're describing now is how I feel about leadership. I believe you lead by example, and never be afraid to get your hands dirty.
Never.
I've always tried to live by that. I will never ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself. I mean, I've been out on New Year's Eve where there's a piece of litter on the ground, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go pick up this water bottle that somebody left here just because I care enough about the show site that I'm not below that. And I think that's important for leadership.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you got to invest in, and I would even take it a step further, and this is maybe my own personal thing. It's like, it is my job, it is my duty as a tour manager to make sure that they have everything they need to do the show.
Yep.
Or step one. Step two of that is it is my job to make sure that they are taken care of, they're healthy, they're in a good spot to show up to work, they're moving, in a good spot. That's step two. Step three, I have to return every single one of these individuals home to their families.
I love that.
And I have to make sure that they are in a good spot to be there. Like, I find that is the third step, and you don't know that when you just start out. Like, that is something that is learned.
Yeah.
I would say, as we grow, like, you invest in these people, you see a lot of these people more so, especially in the busy touring season. You see them more than you see your own family. So you invest in them, and you have to make sure that, hey, they're okay. Make sure you check on them. Hey, how's it going? What can we do better? How's everything at home? Do you feel,
You're hitting a nail on the head. I want to address that, man. I think that's something, and I want to point out, we've found that a lot of our listeners, too, don't work in the live entertainment industry, and so they're learning about our industry. And one of the key things I want to clarify here is, unlike an office job where you go downtown and you work 9 to 5, and at 5 o'clock you get up out of your desk and you drive home, and work is work and it's done. We don't get afforded that opportunity a lot in this business. And when you're on a bus with up to 11 other people, depending on how your bus is set up, personal lives and work lives intersect by the very nature. And if somebody may be going through a divorce, or a sick kid, or sick parent, or financial difficulties, or addiction, all that crosses into this work world. And so, to a degree, even not only as a tour manager, but as a tour mate, we sometimes get forced in this role of being in a support system.
100%.
And you want to. It's not like I say forced, but you become this support system, and when this person's battling demons, or this person needs a lift me up, they're battling depression, and being aware of those signs. It's crazy how much being in this industry, you don't shut when you get on that bus at the end of the gig, at the end of loadout, your job's not done, man. You're putting on a different hat, and sometimes that hat's just being a listener or a friend.
I think the one thing that I have found to be so amazing about our camp is we are a group of people who truly care about each other. The core of that being our guys that have been there, since the early stages, since they were in vans, since he was in his first bus, his first trailer, and stuff like that. Like, we truly give a shit.
Yeah.
And I think as you start to grow and you start to get new people into that fold, that rubs off on people.
Yeah.
And you kind of, the funny thing is like, it's not so much like, I guess when you say it, people can very quickly go, oh, well, that's like cliquish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
We are fiercely protective of what we've built.
Yes. 100%.
And we are fiercely supportive and defend the people that we have put here, because they've been handpicked. And like, that was kind of what you were talking about earlier. As this has grown, him and I have been on the same wavelength of, hey, we are going to find the right people because they understand what we're doing here. They understand, how we operate, and they want to grow with that.
Yes.
And like any organization, some stay, some don't. That's part of business,
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's no harm, no foul. Like my goal is that everybody who comes into this camp understands that they are respected here, that our office is an open door policy. So if they need to come and talk to us about something, they can do that.
Yeah.
And we continue to support as we continue to grow.
It's funny. This industry, we all have our birth family, and I love my birth family. I want to be very clear. I love my birth family. But with this industry, I found my chosen family. And obviously, I've got a fantastic wife. I've got 4 great kids. I love my family, and they're also my chosen family.
Right.
Although the kids were, some of them were accidents. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but they are. But my chosen family out there is like how important they are to me. It's crazy the bonds you form out there,
100%,
and how much of a love you truly get. And it is hard, man. Look, we've talked several times with other guests about being let go from tours and how that just it's hard and it happens. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel too. And it's such a small business that you hope that you can leave the right way. And because, man, I don't know about you, but this business to me has all been all about relationships. It's not about a paper resume. It's been about who I know and my connections. And I would rather be known for being somebody that's easy to work with and good to work with than that difficult person. And, you're going to get let go from stuff. It's going to happen.
Right. 100% a relationship business.
Yeah.
I have been very fortunate that so far the gigs that I've had I've gotten phone calls based on recommendations of others.
Isn't that great?
And like the same thing too. Like if you are in a position where you are exiting a camp, you are moving on to something else, you want to make sure that you leave it better than you found it.
Yes.
I have been very fortunate that I was able to help with those transitions,
Yeah.
and really set the tone of like, hey, here's how this camp operates. Like, it would behoove you to not come in and just absolutely like destroy them because
Right.
they may get mad at you.
Yes.
But yeah, I think, and that has allowed me to continue great relationships with past clients.
Yeah.
At CMA Fest the other day, saw Russ and Kaylee. Came up, gave me a big hug, congratulated me on the news that Kate and I just shared. And like it's, I got to hang out with some of the band guys earlier in the day. It's like, it's just so good to be able to see those faces again, because you had an impact on their lives, but they also have a major impact on yours.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like a step back in time. You get to just kind of relive some of those moments and whatnot, and just, you get to give people hugs, give people high fives,
Yep.
and just check in on them, see how they're doing, see how their families are doing. And especially like a lot of those Russ guys, like they've had a lot of life change, some of they have kids, they have more kids, and checking in on the families, just saying, hey, good to see you. And then they went out and put on a kick-ass show that night. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right, I want to dive in here more in a minute about the big news you referred to, and we got a few more minutes to talk about Taylor Watson. But if you want, you're up to you. You can have another bite of your hot dog. But I'm going to read our hot dog fact of the day here.
Hit me.
I don't want to gross you out as I'll read this one. Today's hot dog fact of the day is organ meats have to be called out. People joke about hot dogs made of mystery parts, but the USDA's food safety guidance is pretty specific. If a hot dog uses byproducts or variety meats like heart, kidney, or liver, those ingredients have to be identified by species, oh Lord, and listed individually. In other words, if those parts are in there, the label has to say so. So there you go. This makes me feel much better about at least, I feel like, look, I don't see any thing odd here. I think we got good quality meat here, but I've heard, we've heard this, that hot dogs have
different things.
Jokingly, lips and assholes is
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes you have to question, like, what am I eating today? This you do not have to question with.
You do not.
That is a
no.
100% beef hot dog.
That's quality. That's quality. Man, how do you find balance? Because here's what I know. There's two specific roles I'm going to call out on a tour that are not the gig's done, the work's done, and that's tour manager and production manager. In other words, when the show's over, crew gets on the bus, y'all come home. It's Sunday. You do gigs. Nashville has the weekend warrior touring model.
Right.
We leave Wednesday night. We go gig Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're home Sunday. You get off the bus Sunday. A lot of the crew's going to go and be husband, wife, mom, dad, whatever they are. But TM and PM, you've still got stuff to do, and you've got advances, and the phone is always on. And this is a recurring conversation we've had in here. How have you been able to find that balance between being in that position of the phone's always going to be on, but also being a husband?
I would say it's an ever-evolving chase to find true balance. I have an amazing wife who grew up in the industry, and so I am very thankful that at the beginning when we first started dating and whatnot, I did not have to go, oh honey, I have to travel, or oh, I have to do this. Like, her dad was a tour manager for T.G. Shepherd and manager, and they own a talent buying business. So so from the get-go, like, she knew what she was getting into.
Actually, and I know Kate, and I think the world of her. She's, of course, over at the CMA, and we do a lot with her. But I did not realize that she came from that family.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that's even more reason I'm going to have to get her on this podcast as well.
Yeah.
That's
Plug Klein's Entertainment, the oldest talent buying company in the United States.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's good that's great that she had that background or that upbringing, because she does understand that if the phone rings at 10 p.m. and there's something that needs to be dealt with, you've got to answer that call.
Well, and two, she keeps me grounded. I remember, like we're all young when you get into a management position. You're like, oh, I'm cool, and she was just like, don't get ahead of yourself, pal. Like,
right.
And she is my rock, man. Like, she is the best. And I think with that, especially as things continue to grow and that the amount of things during the week increase, that comes back to conversation and communication. I think for us, we both know when the touring season is going to be, when the busy season is going to be.
Yep.
With country, most of the time you're going to start, midway through Q1, maybe back of Q2, and you're going to go until, late Q3, early Q4.
Yep.
And you start to get into that rhythm. The things that I always joke about, because the pop world is like, okay, well, you go out for 6 months and you'll work every single day and then you'll be off for 6 months. With us, it's like, theoretically, it's a slower pace because you only go, you leave Wednesday night and you're home on Sunday.
Right.
But you're then answering emails Monday, Tuesday, half day on Wednesday because everybody else is in the office.
Yep.
So inherently you're working more. And I think for me, what's worked with us is just communicating, hey, here's where I'm at. I have constantly tried to find what does work-life balance mean to me and what does work-life balance mean to Kate.
I think it's a journey. It's going to be continual, and it's going to change when you share the news that y'all have now, but that's going to change even more.
Yeah, that is. I remember before that, so we're having a kid.
I love it, man. I'm so happy for y'all.
Thank you. And I was so stressed earlier in the year. We came off an amazing Canadian run. It went so well. And I was on myself, like I'm super self-critical, and like I was sitting there, I was like, I could have done this better. I could have like, this team deserves better than that. Like, how am I, and I'm like sitting in front of my computer trying to plan every inkling of a thought that somebody could have, and have a plan for them when they inherently ask a question. And then, you're sitting there thinking like, okay, how am I going to do this when, at the time we were trying, how am I going to do this when we have a kid?
Yeah.
It's super important to me to be able to be there, and be a part of that and support Kate and support our kid. And the funny thing is like I was stressing up until the point that she told me she was pregnant. Because I remember the minute she told me, it was like it all just washed away, and I was just like, you know what? We will figure it out.
Yep.
And I will figure it out, and we will get through it, because there are people in this industry that have done it, that are amazing parents, and they're great role models of that. And it's life, you
It
know,
is life.
like life happens no matter what. Like
Yeah.
just because we have a job in an industry doesn't mean that that is your only identity, you know, like we are, you know, we're due in November. So like the plan would be like, I am Taylor Watson, husband to Kate Watson, father of, I don't know yet.
TBD Watson.
Yeah, TBD Watson. we don't know gender yet. You know, who works in the music industry as a tour manager.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that's one of those big things too, is like our world, you can get so wrapped up into your job as your identity.
Yeah.
And sometimes like our world forces you to think that that's cool.
Yeah.
And it is cool to be proud of what you do because we put so much hard work into it, but we also like have lives outside of that.
Absolutely.
And that is one thing that Hardy is absolutely incredible at. Work-life balance for him, like he expects us to honor his work-life balance just as much as he honors our work-life balance.
I love that.
You know, and that is the greatest gift of all time.
Man, it sounds like you couldn't be with a better artist, especially during this phase of your career and what you are, you know, this exciting news you have. I think what a great camp to be with, somebody that gets it and supports that.
Dude, I am the luckiest guy on this planet. I am so fortunate.
Man. Well, dude, it's been so great spending some time with you here today, man. It's you know, we worked to, you know, we were on the Echo Live board together, or you're on the Echo Live board and doing a lot of great work there, man. But to get to sit down and talk and get to know you more and share your story, I really appreciate it, man. And would love to have you back sometime to keep diving into stuff.
Would love to. Thanks for having me, man.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Road Dogs podcast. Once again, we want to thank Daddy's Dogs for always taking good care of us with the food. We will see you on down the road.